What's up, guys and girls? Probably 90% guys, 100% guys. Today I'm going to be talking about the latest chapter of One Piece and all the latest discussion for the last 30 or 40 chapters or so. If you guys have been following my channel, you guys know I have fallen behind in One Piece. I've explained why with schoolwork and so forth. But with the holiday season, I was able to catch up on the 40 or so, okay, like 20 or so chapters I missed out on. It's definitely a different experience when you're not going chapter by chapter. When you know there's a lot more ahead of you, you tend to do two things, especially when you run a YouTube channel on manga reviews. The first is you tend to rush your videos. You tend to rush your chapters because you're like, I gotta get this all through. But at the same time, sometimes you go really slow because you have to get all the details so you can do a proper discussion of all the chapters. So I decided, since I was so behind and everything, I'm gonna do a discussion on all the chapters that I missed out on, all in this one video, up to the latest one, which is 733. So let's just get started. Spoiler alert, by the way. It's really a different feel, like reading all these chapters, knowing there's more ahead, not just chapter by chapter. I feel like that really, it really sets the mood. So because, like, you know how like I used to complain about like certain chapters being too simple and fast and quick and transitory. Well, they are transition chapters, and if you do sort of watch them or read them before with a chapter before and after, it sort of sandwiches it in, so it's really good. I really like to say the last two chapters were really good, and I'm not going to go reference chapters anymore. I'm just going to reference the whole thing in general. Sanji is like I think Sanji has sort of fallen off, and the biggest person to have fallen off is Frankie, in my opinion. Before the time skip, and I do love time skips in manga series. I really wish every manga would do that. A lot of big manga have. The biggest three I read have, but and that's probably why they do it. But putting that aside, after the time skip, Frankie changed, and it was an intended change turned into an unintended change from the author. Basically, before the time skip, Frankie had a personality. He was actually like a legit character who thought and think, and he thought logically, and he actually could think. After the time skip, he's turned into this sort of gimmick robot character. His only lines in the series are just sort of gimmick lines, sort of gag lines, and I mean he's never really like a big part of the plot or the thinking. Like, you can see Frankie before the time skip do stuff like the logical thinking that Law might do, or Usopp might think to himself. And by the way, I'm very happy that Usopp has more or less kept his same character. He still is really, like, he's not just a gag character. He makes thoughtful assumptions, and he makes reasonable thoughts in his mind to make him actually have a personality of his own. Frankie has sort of lost that, and you know, Usopp, you might be wondering, why exactly does Usopp have these things? I mean, excuse me, why, you might be wondering, what's the word? Why exactly is Usopp not a gag character? Because I feel like he's a gag character. Well, if you look closely, he makes intelligent thoughts, and he does so when he's trying to like escape. And the last couple chapters, I really thought it was really funny because Usopp, he's going through the same thing. He's like the same as before the time skip, with certain changes. Like, Sure, he got stronger in fights. Um, I wish he had gotten a lot stronger. But it seems like his power level isn't that great after the time skip. It's better, don't get me wrong, it's better, but it's still not that strong. But he's retained his sort of whole thing about being the coward liar who's constantly plotting to escape while pretending to be this hero. I really like that. It's such a unique character that like you can't even liken to anyone else in any other manga series. The closest you can come to is Hercule and DBZ, but not even. And that's what makes this character unique and awesome. Another thing is like a certain I think the whole like flashback with the Riku Kingdom and Riku King and that whole ordeal, I thought that was genius. I'm assuming you guys have already read it, so I'm not going to summarize, but I thought it was very well done. But at the same time, one could let's be frank. One could reason, okay, it wasn't Shakespeare. I mean, long story short, this king got tricked in a fairly simple thing. Like it wasn't like some elaborate Shakespearean trick. But I felt it was fairly well done for a manga series. I thought, you know, if we're comparing to Shakespeare, it could have been better. But long story short, what happened was fairly simple. Don Quixote, Don Flamingo flew in, said, "Give me 10 billion." He says, "Hey, I'm this guy who's really strong. Give me 10 billion Bailey, or I'm taking over the kingdom." The king, like an idiot, just gathers all the money. Then Don Flamingo uses his abilities to control everyone and then make the king seem like a traitor. End of story. It wasn't Shakespeare, okay? So it wasn't. Okay, it wasn't Shakespeare. So that's all I gotta say. But still, it was fairly good. The biggest thing was just the whole idea of everyone who had trusted this guy being tricked into thinking he was a horrible person. On the flip side, we do have I think the other flashback with the toy soldier and Rebecca. I thought that was really cool. And back when I did a review a couple months ago, I thought this whole Coliseum Fight thing was stupid because it was just unheard of a manga to introduce so many new characters all at once. It's like, why are you doing this? We can't keep track of all these guys. Obviously, as long as the characters are unique and interesting, the fans will eat it up, and that's what I've seen from this. That's what I've seen from, spoiler alert, Bleach as well. It's really cool, and I have to take it back. And some of the Coliseum characters turned out to be really cool characters. Some had, you know, strange plot twists. Hello, I'm Rebecca. Hello, I am the king, the Riku Kingdom King, and so forth. What I'm most looking forward to seeing is first the whole ordeal with Usopp. Why? Because I always love Usopp fighting. Any other Straw Hat Crew or anyone else in the manga, really, they just fight with pure power. You know, they're fighting, they're all very brave, they're killing each other, so forth. Usopp is a very unique situation because he's always looking to run from a fight. And he's also always looking to sort of weasel his way out of fighting, and he's always scared to death. And he's like a coward on the inside, which makes him such a comical character. And because of this liar sort of quality he has, he's always sort of tricking people to get his way. But he has a good heart on the inside. So I really like Usopp as a character. And I remember first starting One Piece, and the biggest reason I was always like averted from it, and I feel like a lot of people are, is because of Usopp's nose. It might feel weird to some, but the long nose on Usopp, it's a sort of like it's that quirky sort of thing that this author does, not just with Usopp's nose, but from time to time with new characters in the series, that makes people sort of shy away from it from at first glance. They're like, this is kind of weird. This is un-American. That long nose, that's so strange. But after getting into it, Usopp is just awesome character. I really want to see what happens with him fighting Sugar, because it's different. And I always look back to that one time when Usopp was in the vampire zombie haunted mansion sort of arc, with the he used to be a no, it wasn't Tenryubuto, what's it called, Shichibukai. And I remember that scene when he was fighting one of the minions, and he takes out that like fake 10 million ton hammer and just smashes it on the enemy's head, and the enemy, she believes it so much to be the real 10,000 ton hammer that she faints from fear. I thought that was just hilarious. So that's why I want to see Usopp fight, because all the others, they're just it's not really even fighting. They're just like going about their day-to-day lives. Excuse me, it is fighting, but it's just boom, boom, boom. And then Usopp, it's different. Finally, the last thing is this cliffhanger in the last chapter. I don't know what it is. My predictions, though, and my guesses are twofold. I think, first off, there's the cliffhanger to see who finishes, who exactly wins the D block in the Coliseum, and then the second one is what exactly was Luffy told, and exactly what was it. So I believe that in the Coliseum, in the last panel, we do see Rebecca unconscious on the floor along with all the others. So that could be implying that Rebecca didn't win, and it's some new stranger we haven't yet to see in the Coliseum, or someone who we know we've seen already who has won the D block. And here's the kicker that most people didn't think about. Just because we saw Rebecca on the ground, that doesn't mean that she couldn't get up in the next panel. She just may be temporarily unconscious, so maybe Rebecca did win. I don't think it's that important, because I mean, all these really strong characters fighting it out, duking it out, thinking they have a chance when all of them are so super strong. I mean, there's like tournaments like these, it's just impossible to win. Like, sure, you just won D block, now you have to fight the other blocks and then win this thing. More importantly is this whole thing with Luffy. I don't know who that guy is who talked to Luffy, but Luffy just like started breaking down, crying afterwards, and continued crying consistently after that. I'm sure everyone has speculations. I personally feel that the only reason Luffy would constantly cry like that for endless ages, and as alluded to by the sort of references in the chapter, is either that Ace is still alive, or Newgate is still alive, Edward Newgate. I don't think he would break down crying so much for Newgate, so it has to be either that Ace is still alive, or the other possibility is that the devil fruit has already been eaten. That still wouldn't make much sense based off the references and Luffy crying so much. So if Ace is still alive, because we saw the panel with back to like their graves, Newgate, Edward Newgate's grave, Whitebeard's grave, and Porcus the Ace's grave, and then Luffy saying something like, "I always thought he was dead," or maybe it has something to do with something else entirely. But based on that reference, I think Ace is still alive. What happens with the fruit then? How is there still a fruit for Ace? Most likely, he still lost his powers somehow while surviving the whole thing. So I don't know. It's definitely a cliffhanger. We don't know. Again, it's still very confusing because why would he cry? Wouldn't he just be happy? Maybe not. So Ace is still alive. He still has to get the fruit, but he was told by some stranger, this mysterious person, we don't know who it is yet, that for some reason or other, Luffy himself cannot obtain the fruit. Why, we don't know. But it seems like maybe that barrier guy, who's such a fan of Luffy, will be able to obtain this fruit. Maybe it's a decoy fruit, I don't think so though. Or fake fruit, I don't think so though. And I'm really curious to see what happens with the fruit. I am wondering who exactly they're gonna give this fruit to, assuming the Straw Hat Crew eventually get it. Will they give this fruit to the samurai guy who later on joins the Straw Hat Pirates? Here's the thing for me though, like what role in the pirate crew will he fill now? Or will he just be like an extra in the pirate crew? He won't fill a role like the others, like Sanji is the chef, Nami's the navigator, and so forth. And quite honestly, everybody's like constantly making speculations on who's going to join the One Piece crew, and most of these speculations fall flat, especially like in the last arc with the mermaid arc, the undersea arc. There was a lot of speculations on who would join the One Piece crew then, and they were all wrong. No one joined, and so it's very interesting, and I think the biggest thing is, who is this new fangled character, this Karate Kid? It was like a Karate Kid fishman little kid. And was he the guy who talked to Luffy? It's all very confusing. We don't know. So leave your comments below on your speculation, your thoughts, your opinions on it. And as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe for more in the future. And here's what I think. I think that Luffy is he can't get the fruit for whatever reason, but if they were able to obtain it, it seems like the clear person to give it to is probably the samurai dude. Why? Because I mean, people are speculating, why not give it to Sanji? He has that Djambe leg, which is based off flames, right? Or Zoro. Well, the reason is because first off, they need key members of the crew that have been there for a while to be able to be non-devil fruit users, to be able to swim. Why? Because that has saved the One Piece crew's skin multiple times. Oh, by the way, in this chapter, or not this chapter, but the latest chapters, we have seen that Luffy isn't some super all-star yet. He's still like, as always, he's still human. Like, a lot of people fail to realize that. Like, in the last chapter, he couldn't do anything because he was entrenched in sea stone. He just acts like a normal kid at times, not some all-powerful dude. So it's very interesting. Anyhow, finally, I think that is why Zoro and Sanji, and probably Frankie and Usopp and so forth, they're not gonna eat the fruit, because like, why? It just wouldn't fit with their character. Usopp with fire abilities now. Like, most of these characters, their whole basis is based off of having this fighting strength that's unique to them. And a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them, they're not going to lower themselves in order to use a handicap. At least to them, it appears to be a handicap. Especially Zoro. Like, he wants to be the greatest swordsman ever, without the aided benefits of a devil fruit. So that's why he would never eat one. And there's been speculation that Mihawk has eaten the devil fruit, which is why he's so fast and quick, and why his eyes are so weird. But I don't think he has. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Peace.